So it was something that I did for Frank Gehry, his structural engineer. Whether it's documented or not, back when I was 17, they didn't know how to do boundary element method. And the thing is, if you have a plate, it's called like a slab, maybe a foundation with an irregular loading, you have to use boundary element method, which is a little bit different than finite element method. But we actually came up with an experimental model for it, which they created, and back in the day, and that was to use a similar material with spring scales to measure the deformation. And supposedly I got a more accurate answer mathematically than their computer did. They don't teach boundary element method at Cal Poly. We teach it at Illinois Institute of Technology, but I couldn't go there because I didn't have any tuition money. Ooh-ha. That was the problem with everything being undocumented and unpaid. That my grades weren't too hot. But I had a lot of stuff that was way more important than grades, in my portfolio. Ooh-ha! I actually got 2 of these. Steak, egg, and cheese bagel. So, I just looked like a slough, Not gonna eat that. I'll eat it. So at first I wanted to go to MATC, just community college, take their civil engineering. And my parents said, we'll kick you out of the house. So, at Marquette, my dad was a professor, so I'm like, well, I want to take civil engineering, and he's like, we'll get you kicked out of the school. Eventually I tricked him. But this was, key, because San Luis Obispo is like the haven for architecture. They have trades, they have, civil engineering, which has the water structures, they got the architecture program. They told me, you would have gotten in had you had, the buildings documented. Obviously I had buildings done and, experience running a firm. Actually doing the job of a principal architect. When I was a minor, I did all sorts of stuff, code stuff, discovered a new type of wood that was on the market, which we ended up using for a building. But I couldn't get into any of these schools because none of this was documented. Turned out to not matter anyways, because in San Luis Obispo, when I was taking what's called structures, but it's really statics, I went into office hours every single time. On one of our quizzes, it it was a statics quiz. I was like, can I use finite element method? Or, structural analysis. So I did structural analysis. I erased it. I did finite element method. Now I went into, office hours. She's like, this is right. Why are you here? You should be working for a firm. Well, worked out all right. Don't really need anything besides that. I have like a bizarre cache of strange architectural engineering. Droop. I got these two separate lines for music. I got the microtonal line. I don't have recording equipment right now. And then, I've got, this other thing. I think Newport Menthol. But shout out Liget Group, the cigarette brand, I don't know if brand is the right word. They do pyramids and Montegos. They don't animal test. I call them. So that's what I've been smoking. And then, we have, a couple things coming out in physics. One of them will probably be, the bridge between applied chemistry and applied physics. But it's going to take tons of experiments. We're going to have to run this stuff like Edison. Finally reobtained, the work I did for Charles Lieber. I think I'm going to take this home, so, I didn't reobtain it. I remembered it. This was done in middle school. But the other physics, the animal longevity guy that I've talked about, he can make a dog live 40 years. We're gonna be using Skylab biology. I actually have some of the Skylab books. There's a few of them, and they're hard to track down. And it sucks that NASA's labs. Their results, their experiments are not always available to the public. Some of them are classified. So it'd be pretty funny if Elon Musk, said, "Oh, you did this experiment. Okay, I'm gonna do this experiment. I'm gonna release this to the public."